Hello, my name is Andrew Thate from Mines and Money. Delighted to be joined again by Mark Child, Chief Executive Officer of Condor Gold. Delighted to have you with us today, Mark.
Good to be back, Andrew.
Since we last spoke, you've completed a feasibility study for your La India project. What were the results like?
Well, yes, we completed a feasibility study, which is on our website, sometimes called a bankable feasibility study for the UK. And that's also filed on CEDAR in Canada because we're dual listed, 530 pages. It's a culmination of 18 months worth of work. The key headlines of that is that out of the single La India open pit, which is a resource of 900,000 ounces, we can only do that on indicated only ounces. So the reserve works out at 7.3 million tons at 2.56 grams per ton for 602,000 ounces. So out of the reserve case, we get 82,000 ounces of gold per annum for 6 years, which is a great little starter. And that represents only about a third to 40% of our overall mineral resource for La India project of 2.4 million ounces of gold in total. So to get started, we focused on the big pit, La India open pit, and that's what our reserve is on. The upfront capital cost for that is $105 million. So we work hard at keeping that down, and that's dated at the 31st of July. So in other words, it's got high steel prices and high capex. It takes account of inflationary prices is the point. So we're not expecting that to change. If anything, things have come down since then. We've got a contingency of 15% in there, and an EPCM contract for someone else to build it for about $8 million. So it's a very doable bite size for us to build or for someone else to build. And a really good base case. We've also got, our all-in sustaining cash costs in the feasibility study are just $1,039 an ounce. IRRs at 1,623% and 2,000 at 43%. But this is really just the base case. In reality, we've got two other feeder pits fully permitted with over 250,000 ounces of gold at 5 grams, so almost double the grade, which during the construction period we would drill out and bring into the mine plan. So we're confident that day one we can actually start at about 100,000 ounces of gold per annum on the 3 permitted pits that we've got. The reserve is just on the big pit. So it's looking in very good shape, and it was very well received by the market. Our shares after the feasibility study released actually put on about 30%.
Mm-hmm. So that all sounds really, really positive news. How are you further de-risking the La India project?
Well, it's pretty much de-risked. And that's what we've done differently from other companies. A lot of the Canadians do a PEA, a pre-feasibility study, and a feasibility study. Then they say, oh, it's economic. We will now go and get permits, and then they go and buy the land if they get the permits, and then they buy a mill. We've actually done all that. So we've got permits to construct and operate the mine. That's the key thing in mining now. There are many, many projects around the world that just can't get permits. They can put out a feasibility study, as you said, but then they go to the government and for environmental reasons or for whatever reason, anti-mining reasons, they don't get a permit. So it's worthless in many ways. So we've got the key permits. That's the major de-risk. We bought all the land for $4.5 million and 55 plots of land. That took us 3-4 years. And we bought a SAG mill. So that does 2,800 tons a day capacity. We bought that for 6.5 million and it's in the country. So there's nothing really for us to do from an operational perspective. It's construction ready.
Mm-hmm. And what is your overall end goal? How many ounces are you looking to produce?
Well, we've got a 2-staged approach. It's a good question. The stage ones to get us going will be, the reserve says 82,000 ounces. With the feeder pits, when we start, will be 100,000. But we've also got 1.1 million ounces of underground. And on a PEA we did a year ago, that was 150,000 ounces of gold production. So the idea is to start with a smaller 100,000 and then step up to the 150,000 ounces production, which can go for 9 years on the PEA basis. So that's a goal. We've also got a massive land package, and we think we're just scraping the tip of an iceberg. We've got internal studies that we've got up to another 10 million ounces of gold, but it needs drilling and it needs time to do that. But we believe it's a very prolific gold district.
Mm-hmm. Changing tack, what is Nicaragua like as a place to do business?
Well, I've been operating there 10 years full time, and we found the government very supportive of mining. We work with them as we have to work with any government we were working with as key stakeholders in the project, because they give you the permits. We've got the permits to construct and operate. Gold is the biggest export in Nicaragua, and the government get it. They're supportive. They don't have oil, and they're very supportive of mining. There's a good cadre industry of mining executives and mining engineers and hydrologists and environmentalists in the country. You can own 100%. You get concessions for 25 years. There are some tax breaks on. So in terms of can you operate there at the ground level? Yes, it's a good place to operate.
When investors invest into Condor Gold or looking to invest into Condor Gold, what are the main kind of questions that they ask you? What are they sort of keen to know and to hear more about?
I think that to be candid and frank about it, I think some investors have been concerned by the length of time it's taken the project to get to this stage. And I can empathize with that. It has taken a lot longer. We've had setbacks in Nicaragua 2018 due to political reasons. We had permitting setbacks 5 years ago. And so we kind of lost almost 3 years. And that's not great for a listed company, because you've still got all the operating costs going on while you've got a delay in the project. So I think one of the questions you get is, why is it taking you so long? Why aren't you producing gold already? Well, there are things outside your control as a CEO, which I've mentioned, political issues 4 years back, permitting issues, or we had to re-permit to avoid any resettlement. That cost us 2 years. So it comes down to that. But I think that having attended 2 conferences in the States in September, the Precious Metals Summit and Denver Gold Forum, people are very impressed by the feasibility, the perseverance of actually getting this to a construction-ready status, not a plate to construct. People are really going, oh, you haven't got any problems, and the government's permitted. There are very few projects around the world like that. So I think that's the other thing that comes through recently.
And talking of investors, one of your recent highlights was that Jim Mellon, who'd been a non-executive director for some time, is now your new chairman. That must be a real huge boost for Condor Gold.
Yes, I mean, to have an 18.7% shareholder who's a very wealthy man to step up to the chairman position and a senior in the company is a vote of confidence. And in his comment on why he took that on, he said to help determine the path forward. Jim's a very astute financial investor. Point out he's not a mine builder. He's invested in this because he thinks he's going to make a great return. So I think as we really get to this critical decision of do we really go and build this ourselves, or does somebody else buy the project or the asset of the company? That's partly what he's, I think, looking at in terms of determining the path forward. Because obviously there's a big question regarding financing, single asset jurisdiction, going construction risk and going to that without producing mines behind you. And all those things, that's part of determining the path forward, i.e. what's best for all the shareholders, including the biggest shareholder.
And then a last kind of question, partly looking back, but also looking forward. You recently released your unaudited financial results, which of course by their very nature, historical looking. Any kind of key highlights from them? And I guess the twinned question with it, what are your plans for the future? Because you just mentioned that Jim Mellon's got obviously some big sort of plans for Condor Gold.
Well, I think just at the 3 months to the 30th of September, or sorry, end of September, the feasibility is the main thing we talked about, and the metallurgical recovery and the attractive economics, which I've already touched on. So that's what was in that Q3 announcement. In terms of going forward, we are, as a board, and Jim in particular, looking at determining the path forward. So when that decision is finalized, there will be announcements that come out, and we'll keep all shareholders informed at the same time.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Mark. We really wish you all the best with Condor Gold, and really looking forward to seeing you at our London event in just over about 2 weeks' time. That was Mark Child, Chief Executive Officer of Condor Gold. Thank you.